and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. Well, we do have plenty on the way. It may be the international break, but we got lots today to debate amongst ourselves, particularly over playing time when it comes to players there like Ansu Fati. Lots going on with him right now. Pablo Torre, Pau Victor. We're also going to be discussing the incredibly talented Marc and his recovery, plus some absolute magic from our main man, Hansi Flick. It is all on the way, guys, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. So let's do this. But let's first of all kick off with some extra special super thanks shout-outs here on the channel. Really appreciate the support, guys. Shout out here to Bray and to Ariane, who's watching tonight. Spain versus the Netherlands live in the Nations League. Also to JUR, who had friends turn off the game at 2-0 down against Atleti. But there's no chance of us doing that there. We have seen too many comebacks, too much spirit from this Barca team to ever give up on them. So really, really big thank you to all of you guys right there. And let's actually kick off here today, guys, with an update and sort of an evaluation of where we're at with the Spotify Camp Nou. Of course, we know that work is ongoing. We know that work has been ongoing for a long, long time now. And I guess my problem with this has always been, not that it's taken a long time. You know, new stadiums, that will happen. It is a long process. It's a very expensive process as well, of course. But it's the fact for me that we have these deadlines in place and they've just gone back and back and back, of course. Originally, we heard, this could be ready towards the end of the year, towards the end of 2024. That came and went. And then we heard, it's going back to February, going back to March of 2025. And again, we're there now. And it's just no closer, really, to returning to our stadium. And quite frankly, we're not playing there this season. It's very, very clear now. We will not return to the Spotify Camp Nou in this campaign. Barca now have officially secured, actually, an agreement to continue playing at Montjuic until the very end there of the campaign. The end of May, they will finish the season there. Now, and what they say at the club is that at this point, they are currently not thinking about a third season at the Olympic Stadium. They do not want to go down that road. They're not thinking about that right now. But when you're looking at the photos of the development there of the stadium, when you're looking at how the work is progressing, I've got to say, guys, I just don't know. I don't really know where we're at right now. You look at the photos, you look at the way things are happening, and I just don't know when we're going to be back there. Because obviously, what goes through my mind when I see all of these images here, when I see the work that is going on, how did the club ever believe this would be done by December 2024? Did they ever believe that? Or did they just put that out there? Did they just tell us that? And they knew in their mind it would go back? Well, how did they even think this would be ready by now? It's clearly not there yet. There's still clearly a lot of work that needs to be done before we can even think about returning to our stadium. And I guess the most frustrating and, most saddening thing of all is, I just want to be back there so bad. I know so many of you guys feel the same way. I don't really feel as though we've made the Olympic Stadium the fortress that the Camp Nou is. That was never, ever going to happen. Of course, you've got that big running track around the field, which has not really helped either. And I just think, imagine if we'd have played this season at our home. Imagine some of the comebacks that we've seen, some of the goals, some of the emotions, some of the games at the Camp Nou, what that would have felt like. And I just can't wait to be back there. The football that we're playing right now, the way this team looks, it deserves to be there. It deserves to be played in that stadium, and I want it to be done as soon as possible. But I just don't know now. You're looking at the start of next season. Again, we may play a few more games away in the early stage of the season to be ready to return. But I just don't know, guys. What do you think? Looking at these images, looking at the way the work is going, and the way that ultimately it's gone back and back and back, do you think to start the new season, we will be back at the Camp Nou? Please let me know that down below. But indeed, guys, if we do now move on to some of these debates that we need to have over playing time in the squad for several different players right now. And let's start here with Pau Victor, of course, because he has actually gone now 9 successive games without playing at all. Not a single minute there in the last 9 games for Pau, and before that, he was only really picking up a few minutes here and there. It was nothing too solid, nothing too concrete, not really getting too much of a look in, and I think he's one of the players in the squad right now that when you look at the options that we have, I think we all feel as though he's been a bit hard done by there with the minutes. I think even more so because of what he had to go through with the registration troubles, registration situation. Of course, he didn't know whether he'd be registered. We finally got him registered with Olmo, and now we're not really seeing him anyway. And I think he's one of those forwards as well who you feel as though when he's out there, when he's on the pitch, when he's getting minutes, he will make something happen. He's one of those forwards who can provide definitely goals. He can score goals. We saw it there in pre-season. His finishing was excellent. We've seen it as well in the rare minutes that he's got this season. He does make things happen in front of goal. And I think we do deserve to see a bit more of him. But at the same time, I understand that it's not easy. Because obviously right now you've got Robert Lewandowski as the first choice number 9 as he remains at the club. And of course, he's starting most games. That's what's happening right now. That's what's happened right the way through the season. He is the starting 9. And even then, of course, when Lewandowski is not playing, you've got somebody like Ferran Torres. Because even he would say, well, I think I should have more minutes. I should be playing a lot more in this team too. So it's actually a good sign that the team, everybody wants to play. Everybody feels as though they should be getting more minutes, and that is a good sign of competition here. So I don't think really from Flick towards Pau Victor there's anything, bad. I don't think there's any bad relationship there at all. I just think it's tough to get in this team right now. And although he has been hard done by, I would say, I think that he can contribute. It is just not easy, really, to just allocate those minutes right now. Which actually brings us on then, guys, to Pablo Torre. Because he is definitely another one of those players we just haven't seen. He has literally been nowhere near the team. I mean, Pablo Torre has not appeared for a single minute since January. That's absolutely, they're staggering. Versus Valencia, that was his last minute. It's been 11 games in a row without even getting on the pitch. And I've got to say, guys, that is tough there. That is really, really hard going. And again, it's one of those players who you see talent in. It's not as though here we've cast aside somebody who's got nothing to offer. They're not at the required standard. They haven't got the quality. I think that is not true at all. I think Pablo Torre is one of those players who has ability in there, and at only 21 years old, you still feel as though there's talent, you still feel as though he can be unlocked, and maybe, given his opportunity in time, we could actually see that. And you also hear it, by the way, from those around the club. I was listening recently to an interview there from our good friend Chesney, and he was asked, who are the 3 players who give you most trouble in training? And of course he said players there like Yamal, like you'd expect, but he also highlighted Pablo Torre. He is one of those who gives me the most trouble there with his shooting, with his accuracy, with his quality, and I think there's a player in there. I really, really do, and I think we've seen that again when he's been given rare opportunities in the team. But again though, I can accept here, it's not easy given the squad we have, given the midfield options that we have, the likes there of Dani Olmo in that number 10 role. You've also got Gavi, because again, there's players there like Gavi who would also feel as though right now, okay, I'm not in the team enough, I'm not playing enough, I'm not getting the most minutes. Even Gavi, even players like Fermin Lopez, they're feeling exactly the same way. So there's a real queue here to get minutes. But like I say, that's the sign of a good squad. When good players, when talented players are not playing, you must have incredible options. However, guys, then we do move on to Ansu Fati. Now, this is somebody right here who has been out of the team for even longer than Pau Victor, even longer than Pablo Torre. We have not seen Ansu on the pitch since the beginning of this year. It has been 17 games without a minute out there on the field. And I think that's a massive amount of time. You can't really overstate how much time that actually is here. We're talking about the number of games in nearly half a league season that he's not been involved right now. And of course it's interesting right now that you hear in the media, it came out yesterday, that Ansu Fati's camp, his entourage there, they're very concerned about his playing time. And understandably so, rightly so. And particularly when it comes to his father. They're unhappy, they're frustrated with the club right now. And I can believe that definitely, because obviously in the past we've heard his father, Bori Fati, publicly speaking. He spoke out very, very publicly when Xavi was in charge about his son's lack of playing time, lack of opportunities. He felt as though Ansu had been treated very, very unfairly. I didn't actually feel as though those public words helped Ansu massively at the club, I would say. But apparently apparently right now, Ansu's entourage feel as though he's trying really hard in training, that he's really putting in, the hard work, but he has not been rewarded by Hansi Flick. And can I just say on this right now, that may or may not be true. We're not in the training sessions every minute of the day. We don't know exactly what goes on. But I think the big problem here with Ansu and this entire situation, and whether there's frustration or not, the problem is it was made crystal clear to him in January by Hansi Flick that you're not in my plans. It's not a surprise here, and it shouldn't be a surprise to Ansu and his team that he's not playing, because Flick has been very upfront, very honest with him. You're not going to be playing, you're not going to be in the squad, and of course, that was why in January, it was a case of maybe have a look elsewhere. Maybe look at the clubs who are interested in you, that would take you on loan right now, and maybe just go and play football, go and get some momentum going. But of course, Ansu didn't want to do that. He really dug his heels in. He really stayed at the club. Now, he had every right to do that. He's got a contract here. There's absolutely no debate about that. I'm not saying here that he should have been forced to leave. If he wants to stay, that's absolutely fine. But I just don't think right now you can be really starting to be frustrated. His father being frustrated about his playing time. He knew, he was made very, very aware that was going to be the case. Because look at it right now as well. The point of the season that we're at, we're not going to start experimenting. We're not going to start putting players in there, seeing what they can do, giving them a few minutes here and there. We're at a very, very important point in our season. We've got a great squad. We've spoken about that. We've got so much depth. And what we have been doing with the players that we've been using, it's clearly been working. So I can understand right now if Flick is thinking, okay, if it ain't broke, well, we're not going to fix it. We are going to stick with what has been working. We are going to stick with the players that we've been using, and now is not the time for experimentation. And that is why, and I do feel for him, and it's not easy at all, but Ansu, he is still very much out in the cold. But of course, guys, let's talk right here about something exciting. Let's talk about something that's really, really positive, I believe, right now. Let's talk about Marc Bernal, because obviously he was part, let's be honest, of one of the more painful moments of the season so far. And of course, it came right at the beginning, because he had an incredible pre-season. His breakthrough from La Masia, it was another player coming through, 17 years old. He was amazing. Hansi Flick was absolutely wowed by Marc Bernal. So much so that he started all 3 of our opening games in La Liga. I mean, that was the trust that Flick was already putting him in there. He was in the starting lineup. He was 17. Flick was absolutely loving him until, of course, his season was cruelly ended against Rayo Vallecano with that ACL injury there. Really, really hard for him and very, very cruel. But let me just say on Marc Bernal, his recovery, it's going really well. He's been progressing really, really well. And of course, it's a long road. It's a hard road back, very similar to, of course, what we saw with Gavi. It's not only a physical obstacle that you've got to overcome there, but it's very much a mental one too. Missing that amount of time, seeing all your teammates out there playing well, enjoying their football, and you can't be out there. You're not experiencing those same emotions that they are. But let me just say on Marc Bernal, over the past few months there, he's been doing a lot of work in the gym. He's actually been working a lot on his upper body, on his strength there. And this is very, very important, I think, for a young player there to just work on that profile, that build, because these are things that maybe wouldn't have been done or wouldn't have been done to the same degree had he not been out injured there. So he's just had some time in the gym, and I would expect him here to literally come back stronger, to come back as more of a physical force there in midfield. And it's great to hear now that in the next few days, he is going to return to training out there on the grass. And that is absolutely fantastic. Every day he's moving further and further along. He's still got a way to go yet. Let me just say that. He's still got several months to go in his recovery. But I think we're looking right now at the start of next season. That is when we're hoping that Bernal will be recovered, will be back. And a lot of people saying then, when he does get back, is he going to be in this team? Can he be part of this Hansi Flick team? And in my opinion, if he comes back and obviously as time goes on recaptures that former level, for sure he'll be part of this team. For sure, Hansi Flick will have him as part of that midfield. Because just imagine it this season, if in the defensive midfield area, we had Marc Casado, we had Frenkie de Jong, and we had Marc Bernal. Because I also think, looking at Casado, looking at Bernal, they're two very, very good players in that area. They're two really talented players. but they're very different. And what we're looking at here is different profiles, different solutions to different problems. And over the course of a season, that can be absolutely crucial. And I think Eric Garcia, by the way, has stepped up. He's done well. He's provided some great cover in that area. But I just think Marc Bernal, his ceiling is incredibly high in the game. We are talking here about a phenomenal young midfield player. And I don't think we should forget about him. You know, I know he's been out injured. I know it's been a tough season for him. But Hansi Flick, he absolutely loved him before that injury. So I'm really excited here about his recovery. I think Flick is still going to have big plans for him. And I think as soon as he comes back from this injury here, when he does make that return, we are going to try piece by piece, bit by bit, to pick up where we left off. Because he still has a very, very long career ahead of him. And I think he's going to be a top player. But indeed, guys, I do also think right here today, there is a bit of debate to be had on Hansi Flick himself here. Because I've got a brilliant question that says, am I the only one who's noticed that Flick's behaviour on the touchline has been completely different to his previous clubs there? With the way that he acted, for instance, at Bayern and as the German national team coach. And I think we've all been feeling this way right throughout the season. Not only has it been incredible to see what Flick has done with this team from a tactical standpoint and also from a mental standpoint too, but I think what's also really captured all of our hearts here with Flick is the genuine emotion, genuine happiness, and the connection that he has built with this club seemingly overnight. You know, he has arrived and he has put everything, absolutely everything, into this job. And he celebrates as such. Because like I say, at Bayern, he was sort of seen as this coach who, even when they'd scored goal after goal after goal, even, for instance, during the 8-2 against Barca, you all saw him on the touchline. You know, he wasn't even standing up at that point. He was sat down. He was quite stoic. There wasn't too much emotion on his face at all. And even when they went on to win that Champions League title, there wasn't a crazy celebration. It wasn't really anything like that at all. But fast forward now to his time at Barca, I mean, he's bouncing on the touchline. He never sits down. He's hugging players there. He's jumping up in the air. He's really living every single moment. And I think that's incredible. I think it's been really, really amazing to see the character of Flick, you know, really come out, really blossom here at Barca. And this is a man who's enjoying his work, and not only on the field as well, not only in the training sessions, but I think he's really enjoying his life and the culture in Barcelona. And I'm just so happy we've got him. I'm so happy here that we can rely on Hansi Flick as the head coach of our club, and he is doing some absolute magic here, guys. So please let me know in the comments down below, you know, have you noticed that difference in behaviour, difference there in the celebrations with Flick? And also let me know as well on Marc Bernal, can you see him as part of this Hansi Flick midfield? Do you think that he has the quality? Do you think he has the talent to be part of this team when he comes back? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. Thank you as well for all of your fantastic questions in my community section. I really, really do appreciate that, guys. And I will see you soon to talk more as we build up to Barca's eagerly awaited return. Not too far away it is now. I hope that all of you guys are doing well. Thank you indeed for that great support. But until next time, as always, Vesca, El Barça.